right to plan? Is that exactly what you wanted, anticipated, and asked? Nothing like science.
I don't know.
Which of the two races that Elbert
came forward from their first to their second run, and we think and hope that they should come forward again. And then the three horses in the vase in Chester are three kind of solid mile and a half horses that will stay, like will obviously get the mile and a half well, and even could get further. So it's very I suppose the three Dernsdown horses, any three of those could step up again too, Nick. Obviously Cliffs of Moher, the same. We think will step up, and then obviously the three horses from the vase are solid galloping horses, you know. So it's like the next probably 10 days is going to be very interesting. But none of the horses at this stage have they've all only done everything to please us, really.
Aidan, how much work would you do with these horses between now and the Derby? How much serious work would they get between now and Derby Day?
I suppose, Nick, they're all on their own separate programs. There's a program done out for each horse from race to race, and like obviously some horses take a lot of work, some take very little work, some take no work. So that they're all on their programs, and that what has been set out for them, and obviously they have to kind of keep passing the tests along that program as they go along, and they've all done that in a very good way, and we're very happy with what we're seeing at the moment. But obviously the next 10 days will be the most serious part of the work.
Just looking at the two trials where you had the 1, 2, 3 in each trial, so the Derrinstown where you had Douglas MacArthur beating Yucatan and Capri, and then the Chester Vase in which Venice Beach beat Wings of Eagles and the Anvil. Are there any of the horses that didn't win those races that you think are open to significant improvement?
I would think so. I think Capri, obviously Douglas MacArthur's a horse that, like we always thought, would stay further than a mile and a quarter, and that's what he showed at Leopardstown. He came back onto the line to put his head back in front. Capri, we think, will improve, and will improve going the mile and a half and the third run. Yucatan, we would say the same. Like he's a horse that we think is going to get the mile and a half. We're not guaranteed sure, but has the demeanour and the go of a horse that would. He loves nice grounds, and he can quicken really well, and he has a great mind. Venice Beach will stay very well. Like he will obviously get every yard of the mile and a half. The Anvil the same, and the third horse that ran in Winds of Eagles that ran in the Vase the very same. So, and then Cliffs of Moher is the horse. Before Chester, we weren't even sure that he would get a mile and a quarter. Like he's out of a very fast mare, and like he won his maiden over 7, and like he really dominated with pace. So like, that's what we were very happy with in Chester, that he was relaxed and he went to the line very strong. So and obviously would have learnt a lot. He was a horse only after having 2 runs, and he was a little bit behind in his fitness. So that's why we were extra happy with him as well in Chester.
Aidan, I know you tend to sort your jockey arrangements out as near to the final decks as you possibly can. At this stage, would you be anticipating Ryan more on Cliffs of Moher?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I wouldn't anticipate it, or I wouldn't be sure. Obviously, Ryan will get all the information and talk to everybody, and then make his decision. But I wouldn't think that's a foregone conclusion by any means. But obviously, it is very possible, Nick.
And I was just counting up. You've got a terrific stable of jockeys at the moment. Not just Ryan, but also your trusted allies, Shamie Heffernan, Colm O'Donoghue, your son Donica, your daughter Anna, Emmett McNamara, Poreg Beggy. It's looking like you're not going to have to look too much further afield, even if you do run 7. Would that be fair? You pretty much got all the tools in your armory.
I know. Listen, we have obviously we have we're very lucky. We have great riders, Nick, and every year goes by it's we've they can unbelievable team of riders, you know. So like obviously we're very happy with everyone. Like I say, we have a great team of riders, really.
Just looking to the Oaks, Aidan, you've got Rhododendron, who ran such a good race when she was second to your filly Winter in the 1,000 guineas, and you've also got the Cheshire Oaks runner-up, Alluringly. Are they the likeliest two for the Investec Oaks?
Yeah, I think so. The plan is obviously to go straight there with Rhododendron, and Alluringly is looking at it as well. We were very happy with Rhododendron in the guineas, and she's a filly we always thought would stay much further than a mile. Alluringly ran a very good race at Chester. Like we were delighted with her run. She was a little bit raw and a little bit green, but we were delighted with her run and finished out her race very well. So they're the two obviously that we're looking at at the moment.
And as far as the Coronation Cup, Highland Reel's been a wonderful money spinner for you. It looks the obvious target for him. Will he be joined by his brother Idaho or by the filly Seventh Heaven, Order of St George US Army Ranger? What's the thinking there?
Yeah, we're thinking at the moment. Seventh Heaven had a little bit of a setback, so she probably won't be back out again until the autumn. But we're thinking that the brothers might go there. Obviously Highland Reel and Idaho. That's what we're thinking at the moment.
Are they similar horses, Aidan? I know it sounds a daft question because they're full brothers, but temperamentally are they similar? In ability-wise, do you think Idaho will ever get up to Highland Reel's level?
We always thought he would. He's probably physically he's maybe a bit stronger and bigger than Highland Reel, but has made great progress all the time. And like just things haven't fallen for him. Like unusual things have happened with him. Like we saw what happened in the Ledger, and like things that weren't obviously he couldn't do anything about, but we think he is progressing all the time, and we think he will progress through the year.
And Aidan, just finally, I noticed in today's birthdays in the Racing Post a certain Joseph O'Brien, but I had to do a double take when I realised he was only 24. That's made the entire room feel thoroughly inadequate, but I'm sure you're very proud of what he's achieved, and particularly given the fact that he might yet have a Derby runner this year in Rekindling.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Nick. It's great, really, and I know, like obviously himself and Donegal were very happy with Rekindling in York. Listen, so it would be great. Like obviously it's something like we'd be really looking forward to it.
But it goes without saying there'll be no quarter given. Aidan, thanks so much and best of luck. Look forward to seeing you here at Epsom.
Yeah, please God, appreciate it, Nick. Thanks very much.
Aidan O'Brien, the master of Ballydoyle. Ollie Bell, ladies and gentlemen, joins us. Ollie will be part of ITV's first coverage for some time of the Investec Derby. Ollie, who have you got?
Well, currently don't have John Gosden, but he is going to make his way over to us. I saw him giving a critical analysis of the Jockey Club smoothies to Ian Renton a moment ago, so I think he's enjoying one of those. If I can get John Gosden to come up, we're going to talk to John about Cracksman, who we just saw work out there. Ladies and gentlemen, John Gosden, of course, a dual Derby winning trainer. Hello. How was the smoothie?
It was very good. I had to quickly taste something. I only just come up from the stables. Right. Yeah, I didn't get questions very well.
Yeah. No pressure for me, and hopefully, given that you're going to give us lots of fascinating information here, I'm actually going to steal a question from Nick, if that's okay, Nick. And that is by saying that when you go out on the track, you have a plan as to how you want these pieces of work to go. Did that with Cracksman go according to plan? Yeah,
we like to go back to the other side of the road at the top, cross over there, and then just come down off the hill and go a nice half speed to, pick it up in down Tattenham Corners, because you want to get them on the correct leg, which is a near fall. Turn over there, then you cross another road, and then you join, you come through, and we always pull up in the dip. Because actually here, when you race, you come to the top, but actually, as you well know, it then runs away from you again. So you don't want a fresh horse particularly pulling up down a hill. But after they run a mile and a half in the Derby, they usually, new approach, he ran off to the lead. Run last week, sadly, I was sorry for York. To that extent, it's a very, if the horse is in good form and his performance in the Dan, my piggy bank.
I actually got a C at Intermediate Science GCSE, so Darwinian genetics is slightly out of my depth, John. But if we can get back to what I know slightly more about, which is the Oaks fillies. Enabled, Coronet, will they run here in the Investec Oaks?
Yes, very much so. They're both pointed to run here. Enabled we're very happy with since Chester. She put in a fine performance there and handled the track well. I mean, obviously Aidan likes to use Chester as a sort of teaching ground for Epsom, and It was Kieran who got him to do that, along with the executor of Chester, and now we can't get a possible winner of the Vase or the D or anything else. But no, she ran great in Naples. She comes here all being well, and Coronet ran a very nice trial in St. Allery at Deauville. She was slow away, but finished very strongly to grab third on the line.
And Shutter Speed, just to confirm, will go to France for the Prix de Diane.
Yeah, we've always been pretty clear about that from the beginning. So if anyone backed an anti-post for the Oaks, they weren't reading the press.
And just finally, because I'll speak to John Ferguson in a moment, we've heard from Aiden O'Brien. With regards to the Derby, it's an open race, as you've touched on. Do you think your biggest challenge comes from Ireland and Ballydoyle, or the boys in blue and Godolphin this year?
I think the biggest challenge is for the jockeys to get a clear run. Because I think there'll be probably a pretty big field. Might be a couple in there who'll be wheeling back at the wrong time, who probably shouldn't have been put in the race. And I think the jockeys are the guys who've got far bigger problem than us trainers trying to steer a course around there.
John, as always, fascinating. Ladies and gentlemen, John Gosden.
News recently that Investec had extended their Derby sponsorship until 2026, and we welcome all our representatives from Investec here today. And with that news under his belt, time for us to welcome to the stage the Regional Director of Jockey Club Racecourses for the London region, which encompasses, I should say, Sandown and Kempton, as well as Epsom Downs. Phil White, ladies and gentlemen. Phil, let's just start on the news of Investec's extension to the sponsorship. That must reassure you hugely.
That's fantastic. Investec have been brilliant sponsors of the race since 2009, and we're absolutely delighted that they're extended till 2026, which is a 5-year extension on their deal. They're a great partner to work with. They're creative, they're passionate, as we are, and we've got a really good partnership, and having another 10 years from this year to work with them gives us real certainty and helps us build towards the future together.
Not only your commercial partnership with Investec to talk about, but also a couple of other partnerships. Unibet starting their role as official betting partner for the next 3 years, and the much talked about Poundland Hill, which has been discussed and debated widely in racing circles. They're probably not that far outside that. What's your take on Poundland sponsorship and the reaction that it's garnered?
I think it's a fantastic opportunity for us to work with a partner to reinvigorate the hill. Poundland are a high street brand. They've got over 500 stores nationwide. They're a fantastic team that we've met recently, and we're working to reinvigorate that hill. We want to attract families to come onto the hill. I mean, this year we've doubled the size of our hillside enclosure. That's got a huge amount of activities for families to come and enjoy the weekend. There's a car rally up on Tattenham Corner, and the Poundland have got their own enclosure to educate and attract families and children to come to understand the Derby and race him.
So you're trying to bring back some of that age-old flavour to
This year's race, thinking they can win a Derby. How are Team Godolphin approaching it?
Yeah, I think very much the same way. I think at this stage we've got 5 names on the team sheet, and I think that obviously we've still got 10 days to go, and we'll see what happens over the next 10 days. But
Up, he's all well at best solution. He won.
So again, he's got a pedigree.
As you know, best of luck, Johnston.
Derby, Mr. Frankie Dettori. How was Cracksman this morning?
Good.
Pedigree-wise, he might be better on a.
The best racing day buys the. But when you do come to Epsom on the days, you just, it is challenging, emotionally and planning. Like I said, for all those various reasons, and Epsom is a unique track, and it looks like we're going to have a full field this year as well, so you got to put that into consideration. So it is pretty stressful, but when you win, is rewarding, and I hope to do it again.
You're wearing it very well. I can't let you go without asking you about the Oaks, because you might just have won that before you get to the Derby this year. The filly at Chester Enable was very impressive. Were you as impressed as the rest of us?
I was surprised, actually. Basically, I rode her in the spring. She was nice, and by watching the Newbury race, I thought, well, she looks nice there, a little bit one pace. But what she showed me at Chester is that she went whizzed around that turn like a greyhound, and for what I thought staying filly, she showed a good turn of foot. So I'm very excited about her, and I think she's going to run a decent race. The favourite comes with all the best credentials, but I think Enable, she's going to do well.
Enjoy the derby, but most importantly, enjoy loose women. Don't do a flying dismount this afternoon.
Thanks.
Frankie Dettori, ladies and gentlemen. Oliver Bell.
On that note, Nick.
You're doing well rounding them up, aren't you?
I've got to wait here because they're all tucking into the wonderful breakfast supplied by the Jockey Club. Now, Martin Mead and Jim Crowley are the next people I'm going to speak to.
No, but I was absolutely thrilled. He did exactly what we wanted him to do. We didn't want to overdo him today. And for me, it was absolutely perfect. Just could not have been better.
Okay. And is that jockey's view as well?
No, I was really happy with him. Yep. We just went from the mile.
Clerk of the course, Andrew Cooper's behind you. You mentioned that there was a little bit of juice in the ground. What would be his ideal conditions, do you think, Jim?
Well, look, he's won on good to firm, but he's a big horse, and I think he's probably best with a little bit of cut, just good ground. It probably handled good to soft as well.
Do you look at what you've seen from the Dante winner, the other trialists, the Chester trialists, the trials in Ireland, and is there one particular horse that's standing out that you're fearful of over the others?
No, not really. I think everybody's in the same boat. They always say Guinea's form is always the best form for a derby, and this horse, who things didn't go to plan for him that day, and he might have run up to form. So, and he still finished, very close. Obviously not to Churchill, but the rest of them in a bit of a bunch. So, like I said, coming here, stepping up in trip, and I'm pretty confident he'll stay. He should go close.
I know that pre-race, particularly a derby, jockeys and trainers are.
Me, if I pick a ride in the race, and I'm not just being biased, I choose him. Good thing is, being a Frankel as well, he came here this morning, he was very, very relaxed, and he took it all in his stride, and that's going to be a massive, plus on the day as well.
What did you make of your first derby experience last year?
Yeah, ran well. I think, I had a good spin round, finished 6th, and but like I said, this horse would be hopefully a lot better than him.
And how are you feeling? Jim's experienced it before, first runner in
Next week.
6, and he's one of the 6, and I think he did look actually much more, as a yearling, more outstanding than actually Golden Horn did, in a way.
Golden Horn furnished and developed into a lovely horse. Tell us a little bit about Golden Horn and how he changed your life as an owner, a breeder, and sort of what impact he had on you and your whole family.
Well, fantastic impact on my family. I had at least most of my grandchildren at the Derby, so suddenly I've got a family that with the stud. It's been a tremendous boost.
I suppose when you're breeding the horse as well, and you're not just splashing the cash and buying a horse, you're nurturing it. You've got a whole team of people whose lives this can really affect.
Oh, incredible! I mean,
going to do you some physical injury in the Winners enclosure there, but the sheer disbelief on your face that. And finally, Anthony, if I'd said to you a couple of years ago, well, lightning has struck, it might strike twice in 2 years' time, what would you have said?
I wouldn't have believed you.
You better believe it now. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Anthony Oppenheimer, ladies and gentlemen, owner breeder of Cracksman. We've talked quite a bit about ground.
Of course, even though I've been here for the last 5 minutes, I should have forewarned you, actually. I'm very sorry. But you look smart now, the jacket's on. How are you?
I'm very good, Ollie, thank you.
Talk us through the process then. Where are we now? Where do you want to be in a week's time? Where do you want to be on Derby Day?
Well, I think right now I'd say we're in a very good place with the ground here. Obviously benefited greatly from a nice drop of rain here last week. And Thursday night, 15 mil. 50.
That has been presented to you so far in 2017 made this.
I think certainly getting that rain last week was a big help because, watering is one thing, but you just cannot beat natural rain for going everywhere and bringing all the grass and lawn areas, on. You do need a bit of rain somewhere in the mix. So we were very pleased to see that last week.
How open a derby do you think this year's is?
Well, I mean, potentially it looks very open, doesn't it?
Day. And what do you hope the ground is on Derby Day?
Okay, I mean, it's obviously incredibly difficult to say what we expect it to be because it's so far out. I mean, in terms of the weather outlook, we're expecting to stay dry here really until probably Monday of next week at the earliest. Getting hotter between now and then. It looks as though possibly Friday of this week might be the hottest day of the week. Could be somewhere in the mid to late 20s by then, potentially. but there's some signs coming in of a breakdown in the weather, perhaps from Bank Holiday Monday onwards, which should at least introduce cooler conditions and certainly brings with it the risk of some rain in the early part of next week. So, as I say, we're in a good place at the moment. You know, this is ground that doesn't need us to be doing anything to it for at least a few days, if even then. You know, we'll take a view with this track, I think, at the end of this week, taking account of the latest forecast, but we've certainly got no plans to do anything but leave it alone for a few days here. In terms of our intention with the ground, well, you know, I think we've got a sort of tried and tested approach to it here. We don't want to be running and really wouldn't allow the Investec Derby to be run on ground quicker than good to firm, but good to firm ground is perfectly acceptable. So in terms of our thinking and planning, you know, next week when it really is going down to the wire, we will be trying to make sure that, you know, by the time we get to 4:30 on the Saturday, the ground isn't any quicker than good to firm.
Andrew Cooper, thank you for the update. I can see Hugo Palmer just around the corner, so I'll grab a quick word with Hugo as well, find out whether that ground report from Andrew filled him with confidence. Obviously, best of days. Hugo's first Derby runner, worked on the track just a few moments ago, and were you happy with what you...
Back 3 months ago with him, which is why he hasn't run in a trial, and we've got 12 days now to the Derby, but I think he's going to need every one of them.
Okay, so ideally you would...
Social networks and social media, and they'll each bring a party of guests to the Oaks and the Derby. I'm delighted to say that a man who's been a young ambassador for a couple of years now is in the room now. He is Milap Patel, and Milap nearly trumped you. Milap, great to see you. Tell us a bit about the young ambassadors and how you got involved.
Yeah, so the programme this is the 4th iteration. Himself, we've got bankers, so it's very important that the selection process is not just your mates, but people that have a positive impact. So, for example, this year, I've actually got 2 of my guests are in Forbes top 30 under 30 list, and 2 winners from that. So I actively go out there and try.
The year here at Epsom.
I think from Investec, we're just incredibly proud to work with such an iconic event, and just to be part of the Derby and its history for the last few years, and then knowing that we've got, you know, another 10 years going forwards is just a great thing. And I think as a team working on it, it just means you can really kind of get your teeth into ideas, the actual day. Again, it just goes back to the fact that this race is so iconic, and it's really helped us to build our brand. And we work so well with the Jockey Club. I think we're a really good partnership. And to be able to know now that we've got such a long time together, it just means you can kind of put plans in place that are for more than a year, and things that, you know, might take a couple of years to kind of come to fruition. So it just gives you a really good sort of background. But again, it just comes back to the fact that, you know, to be associated with this race, even to be here today, to be involved with the Derby trials, it's actually a privilege as a corporate to be in this world.
That's great to hear. And not only is there sort of unique sporting competition out on the track during the 2 days of racing, but there's also a lot of fun to be had when you come here, lots of colour to be seen, and a great occasion wherever you are on the track to enjoy a fabulous weekend. What can we all look forward to for this weekend coming up at the Investec Derby Festival?
Oh, I'm not sure I'm the right person to be asking. I mean, we make the site look as beautiful as we can, but actually I suppose most of the things that are going on at the site, it's the Jockey Club that kind of are party to those. But again, we just know it's going to be fantastic, and I suppose the things that we've heard that are happening, you know, they are going to add the sort of colour and spectacle for the festival. So we know it's going to be the best one yet.
So some wonderful images. Jen, many thanks, and great news regarding the sponsorship with Investec. Now, I'll go back to you, Nick, because not only have we got a
trained Tiano Run and Harlan's Holiday and the Belmont Stakes winner Sarava and Take Charge Lady briefly took charge of the great.
A fast horse, and you feel like you can be competitive at a high level. Go. There's nothing to be fearful of. And the truth is that more Americans come. You know, you all come over and take our money of it.
Just looking through her form, one thing she is very, very tough. She hardly knows how to run a bad race, and she runs through the line as well.
Well, but she's been very unlucky in draw. You know, she drew the 14 in the Breeders' Cup, and she gets annihilated in the turn, and she keeps
able to ride her and all the preparation leading up to the big race.
Well, she got delayed on her flight. She was supposed to leave yesterday and be here this morning, and we were going to kind of match flights. So she's scheduled to leave tomorrow or today, and from Alabama of all things. We had to van her there, and she's got a direct flight into Stansted, but she'll handle that well. And then she's going into Jim Boyle's yard here, which we're excited and appreciate him hosting us. And I really wanted to keep her on grounds because she's a filly that needs school. Delia is going to ride her. Julian Leperoux rode her in the last start and was kind of conflicted on who to use over here. Did not want to bring an American rider because of the difference of the course, and so I really felt like the jockey needed to know the course more than the horse. And Olivier's going to come get on her. It looks like Friday, and I encourage anybody that would like to see her Friday. That's fine, and Saturday we'll be out here.
That's great. So out right on the course here Friday and Saturday. What sort of time?
Well, it's gonna be up to Andrew, but we're working on those details and trying to figure out. We're going to give her a little gallop over it, and timing-wise, with the playing being delayed, I've got to kind of contemplate how she handles the trip and make sure she's strong to do everything we need her to do.
And just finally, I was looking at her pedigree, and she's by Scat Daddy, this brilliant speed sire who we sadly lost a couple of years ago. Also the sire of Caravaggio, who was so brilliant the other day. It almost doesn't, by thinking about the one could be this amazingly fast horse and the other a real stayer, but she's got the pliability and the temperament to get home here.
Well, she's a half-sister to Mongolian Saturday, who won the Breeders' Cup Sprint Turf, but she's no sprinter. If you see her, when you see her, she's kind of a longer, lankier type filly, but Caravaggio's obviously, sprinter type too. But you get Johannesburg on the sire line as well, and he was a good horse on all surfaces.
Well, we are so excited to see her, Daddy's little darling. Please give a warm round of applause to Kenny McPeak. Great to have you here, Kenny.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. You look
Where are
lost.
you?
I'm here, sorry.
Sorry, I
I've
lost
moved
you.
from there to there. I am actually roving. So let's find out what Kenny and all of us can enjoy during Investec Derby week here in Epsom. I'm joined by Paul Taylor, who runs What's On in Epsom, and actually, rather unfairly, I asked Jen Whiteford from Investec what we can expect in Epsom during the week, but I should have asked you, Paul, because you are the man who's born and bred in Epsom to see and do.
Yes, it's fashion shows. We're showing the 1952 film Derby Day in the local theatre. Again, this is all free of charge. We've got bunting going up. There's special signs from the station leading up to the racecourse on the lamppost. So from this lovely
carrots, for want of a better phrase.
We are indeed. There's plenty of odds on offer. In fact, we've already got 10 special Investec Derby Festival offers up, which include, we've been talking to Aiden O'Brien, we've been looking at all his runners. He's got 26 of the 123 runners left in the Derby, over 20%. You can bet 2 to 1 that he wins the Investec Derby with Unibet. You can bet 12 to 1 that he repeats 2002 when he got the first two, High Chaparral and Hawkwin, and 33 to 1 that he trains the first three. We've got an Aiden O'Brien special, not just on the Derby, but obviously we're sponsoring all the races at the Derby Festival, the Investec Derby Festival. We've already priced up the Coronation Cup. Incidentally, Seventh Heaven has just been announced as being injured for the whole season, out until the autumn actually. So the third favourite there's out. He's 6-4 favourite with Highland Rill to win that. He's 6-4 favourite with Rhododendron to win the Oaks. He hasn't got...
Bit that we got the run of the race a bit at Epsom. We actually held him in when Termian made his run, and Cracksman did well to get out from that and rally again and just got up and got us. He's a lighter race, less exposed horse, and you'd expect him to come on for that. But I think everybody can see clearly that Termian has come on from Epsom. We thought the Newmarket run was a step up on that, and the Dante run another step up. So I don't think everybody should assume that in the next meeting that Cracksman will beat Termian. So on that basis, we deserve to be there, and we deserve to feel we have a live chance.
John said when I spoke to him that a 2-week break at Mark Johnston's like a holiday. Does the quick backup concern you?
Sorry, does what not concern me?
Does the quick backup in terms of duration from Dante to Derby, just over 2 weeks, does that worry you at all?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We're a huge believer in doing our galloping on the race course. This horse, I'd have to look back at my records, but he certainly hasn't galloped since he ran, other than on the race, since his first run this year, other than on the race course. He won't be galloping again before the Derby. That's our normal policy. I remember way back when Bandari ran in the Derby and he changed hands to Sheikh Hamdan just before the race, and Angus Gold, it was the first horse we'd ever had for Sheikh Hamdan, and Angus said to me, I'll pop up and see him doing his last piece of work. And I said, well, he isn't going to do the last piece of work, he's done it. And the same applies to Permian. You know, he's done his fast work, he doesn't need any more between now and the Derby, and 2.5 weeks is just perfect.
I know that well, when I spoke to John Mark, the jockey arrangements were up in the air, and I'm aware that it's unlikely you can commit to anything at the moment. But just as a general point, as a trainer with a live chance in the Derby, Franny Norton rode this horse in the Dante. Franny may not ride him in the Derby. Does that worry you? Is he a fairly straightforward horse in terms of if a jockey who hasn't ridden him before was to ride him?
Well, I think he's a very straightforward horse. There's no issues about that. He's had 4 runs this year already, and he's had 3 different jockeys. The only one who hasn't won on him is Richard Kingscote, who rode him in the first race, and he got off and he'd been hampered by our other horse, and he said to me, I should have won that race. I think we all can see in hindsight that he's probably right. But it shows, you know, this horse has had several different jockeys, and I think he's a very straightforward horse, and that's going to be one of the big advantages for him in the Derby. He's already been to Epsom, and as we saw in the Dante, which you could make some excuses, I think, for some of the other horses that the Godolphin trio ran a bit free up front, and you could make some excuses for them, but it showed Permian's versatility and his ability to sit and settle anywhere at any pace, and so I think he is a very straightforward horse.
And just finally, Mark, your best finish in the Derby to date was 4th with Mr. Bailey's a few years ago. How are you feeling this time round with regards to Permian's chances?
I think as we get nearer and nearer, just as I've said to you, I freely admit at the beginning of the year we were not thinking Derby with this horse, and that's an unusual route to take a horse who starts off in a handicap and then be talking about the Derby 4 weeks later, or 6 weeks later. But I look at the Bear form and I say, the horse has answered every question and he deserves to be there. So I'm very excited about the idea. I think that I've had, surprisingly, considering everybody sees me as a trainer of middle distance horses and stayers, I've had very few runners in the Derby and very, very few live chances. And so I think I'm going there. We're not going there just for the sake of going. We went to the Dante to decide between Ascot and Epsom, and he made the decision for us and did exactly what we hoped and won the Dante. So, the Derby field would be the worse for missing Permian. The Dante winner should be there, and the Dante winner usually has a serious chance in the Derby, and it's a wonderful position to be in to have the Dante winner going into the Derby.
Mark, many thanks. Mark Johnston there joining us live here at Breakfast with the Stars. Mark, we'll let you crack on. All the best with Permian in the Investec Derby. Thank you to Mark. He, along with the Ballydoyle team, Nick, the Godolphin team, runners perhaps from France, and of course the American Raider will be a host of a number of great horses that we'll see that weekend.
Do you know, Ollie, I don't think we've ever covered so many bases at Breakfast with the Stars as regards how many horses have been represented. I think